Hello, it is Beatsman Gaming here, back with another video. This is going to be a little bit different. You may be wondering, what trick do you have under your sleeve, Beatsman Gaming? Where's the skit, Beatsman Gaming? This is not a skit. It is a tier list video. No, it's not unoriginal, and don't look it up. Don't look up this topic when I tell you about it, because there's no other videos. Yeah, I know how you feel about tier list videos, or maybe you like them. There's just a lot of them, but I wanted to do a tier list on not recent, well, declassified in general CIA operations and projects. Due to the nature of CIA operations, it's kind of hard to rank them like from best to worst, so I have to explain a little bit before I start. Like, this is not like one MK Ultra is cooler and more fun than Project Stargate, if you know of that. I tried to experiment, but the best one that I came across was entertainment value and results. Like, based on the intentions of the project, did they achieve their results? How much damage did it do? And was it absurd? I'll just start with S tier. This is peak in regards to absurdity. You know, something you would see in a Rick and Morty episode. Like, oh, that's crazy. Why would you think that was a good idea? Like, that's so silly. You kind of have to hand it to the government with these ones. That's just how I see S tier. It don't make sense. A tier, similar in how bizarre it is, but not as interesting. It's still interesting. It's still absurd. Not as much as a failure as S tier. Probably more well documented than S tier. I've noticed that with a lot of operations. Also, like, I will be putting sources in as much as I can. That a lot of these already have sources on the CIA government website. B tier, mostly amusing, very obvious signs of failure, probably a failure in general. Still interesting, not as interesting as A. I feel like this is, like, it makes sense for the government to enact this or research this / study. With C tier, it'll make more sense as to how this is set up. It's not, you'll see like, oh, S is not better than A necessarily, because C tier is more on the horrific territory. It's more like very major human rights violations, probably caused deaths, probably ruined the reputation of the CIA a little bit. So that's C tier. D tier, we're looking at, like, probably didn't cost a lot to do these. Probably not an absurd amount of thought put into them. But still, I don't mind covering them. And F tier is your fault, viewer, because it's just so boring. It's not fun to talk about. That would be F tier. I don't know how many of those projects you'll see in this, but that's basically the tier list. I'm just going to get into it because I feel like it would make more sense once you saw, how I ranked everything. And I'll start with the first one. The CIA surgically implanted electrodes into dogs' brains with the intention of mind control. That sounds fun, doesn't it? I don't think there's an official title for this. I don't think it was a wide-scale operation. But we do know that in September of 1967, there was a letter sent from a scientist to a fellow scientist asking about the value of their work, which was implanting dogs with electrodes under their skin to control their movement. You might have seen this with roaches. I don't know, but I'll put up a fucking video. I don't know if you've seen it. So it's really interesting to do it with a a dog. The question of moral worth is not one I'm gonna fucking talk about between dogs and roaches. It was not without complications, surprisingly. Many dogs faced infections, some death. The mechanism behind this is actually kind of fucked up. It was essentially a harness was screwed to dogs' bones, and then electrodes were fed into their brain, wrapped in medical cement, and the line actually went under their skin, behind their back, and met right at the back of their shoulder blade. You can imagine why this would cause complications, but at least they anesthetized them. Right? Were they successful? Kind of. I mean, they could affect a dog's behavior in a way like, oh, maybe you'll go left instead of right. They could do that within 100 to 200 yards according to the letter. So kind of were they successful? I guess so, but not really. And that's kind of a good thing because of the applications behind this supposed project, which was, simple warfare stuff like providing ammunition, to sniffing out radiation, to making the dogs homing missiles for enemy troops. Yeah, they wanted to guide a dog with a bomb strapped to it behind enemy lines to blow the dog up. I'm gonna put that in A tier. That's pretty amusing, besides the fact that dogs died, and that's pretty fucking absurd when you really think about imagine just for a second they got more funding for this, and this expanded beyond just like a few dogs, or a year, or whatever, however long it was. It would, like, the public wouldn't fuck with this, right? I mean, like, dogs weren't seen as fucking bottom feeders at this point in time in the 60s, right? I mean, so that's A tier. I hope that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, I don't care. It's mine. It's my decision. Okay, so this next one is dead rat espionage efforts. Also, don't think that's an official title. There's not a lot known about this in regards to, when it was a thing, how long it lasted, but due to the fact that the intentions were espionage, it has to be assumed that it was during the Cold War. So the whole question was, what do you do when you need to deliver notes to people that maybe might snatch it and shouldn't see it? Maybe banknotes, maybe attack coordinates, shit like that. Well, their idea was, let's stuff it in a fucking dead rat. Let's take the organs out of a dead rat and put the note inside of there. And the whole idea was, there's no way a person would pick up a dead rat willingly, right? That's ooey gooey. That's nasty, right? Now, I don't know how effective it was. I do know they experimented with it, and that kind of fucked up because cats really like rodents, and so they yoinked them up shortly after they were placed. The CIA was like, we can't have this happen. What do we do? And their first thought was to dip the carcasses in hot sauce, because I guess cats don't like hot sauce. But I just imagine, like, people in lab coats fucking single-handedly dipping in hot sauce, and being like, yeah, this is a good idea. That'll be B tier. Like I said before, I don't know how successful it was, but it doesn't seem like it was very successful. And the idea of using hot sauce is just fucking funny. Like, I feel like that would just tarnish anything that you're trying to, any important note that you need someone to read is gonna be coated in fucking cayenne pepper. We've gone through A and we've gone through B. I want to give a frame of reference. You're like, okay, well, if implanting dogs with electrodes is A tier, then what? S tier must be crazy, right? I'm sorry for talking like a dumb fucking baby. I'm sorry. Sometimes I just gotta talk like a fucking baby. I just get the urge to talk like a fucking dumb baby. But anyway, S tier, the frozen milkshake assassination disaster. That sounds like a movie. It sounds like a French indie movie. Doesn't it sound like a little French indie movie? The frozen milkshake assassination disaster. It kind of sounds like a Midwest emo band, like a northern Ohio band. Fidel Castro, the man, the myth, the legend that was deemed by the United States as a risk to national security. I don't know why. I'm not really sure why. I didn't look into it that much. So yeah, Fidel Castro, national security risk, faced the testicle of death. I mean, testicle graze of death many times. According to Fabian Escalante, 637 by the United States alone. There's got to be a list somewhere because that's fucking absurd. Those were all failed attempts. But this one in particular, I find rather interesting. Fidel Castro, fuck. The United States government caught on that he was a man of many pleasures. A couple times, actually. But this one in particular, his pleasure was a chalky milkshake in the morning. A nice cold chalky milkshake at the Havana Hotel. Yum! Chalky milkshake. The United States, they had a grand idea to put a botulinum toxin pill in his milkshake. So they hired a waitress, I think it's a waitress, at the Havana Hotel to break it open and sprinkle a little bit of that botulism in his milky shake. Just get the taste just right. Not in a smoothie, just after the smoothie's made. I guess it's not a fucking smoothie. And the waitress / waiter thought it was a good idea. Hey, for safekeeping, I'm going to put this in the freezer. It froze the pill. And naturally, when you're trying to assassinate somebody in Minecraft, as Wendigoon says, you get shaky. Your nerves get a little shot. And so that is what happened to this waitress. Nerves got a little shot. And as they were pulling out the pill out of the freezer, it fucking broke. Yeah, major blunder, according to the United States government. I, for one, don't have any opinions on assassinations because I'm not a real person. But to the government, the higher-ups, they thought, that sucked. Yeah, dang it. And actually, according to the man I was mentioning before, Fabian Escalante, I didn't mention before, but he is like he was Cuba's the head of Cuba's version of the CIA. He said that was the closest the United States ever got to assassinating Fidel Castro. Out of the 630 plus failed attempts, that was the closest. I don't know much about the other attempts. There's also some ambiguity to the story I just said. Someone testified, I was Fidel Castro's lover. It was I that was hired to put the botulinum toxin pill in his drink, and I couldn't do it. I was too in love. S tier. I think that's pretty S tier. That's absurd. The stakes I feel like are pretty high, and the risk of failing, that seems kind of low for someone that fucking drinks chalky milk every day. At least to me. I mean, I don't know. I think that's S tier. That's pretty fucking absurd. So, my camera battery died. So this might be a little jarring. I am outside now. I am not inside in front of a couch anymore, which was the former half of the video. But we have one more project. Actually, this is not a project. It's called the Montreal Experiments. Now, from what I remember, these experiments lasted from 1957 to 63. I guess in a vacuum it was a series of experiments to rid oneself of the ailment known as schizophrenia through means such as depatterning and psychic driving. I don't know if you know what that is. I'll explain it. It'll probably make more sense when I do. Now, these psychic driving and depatterning were postulated by a man named Donald Ewan Cameron. This guy is a fucking crazy nincompoop psychopath. Basically, his idea of psychology was all skewed and fucked up. He thought you could cure homosexuality, which you can. He thought that mental illness was contagious. So, for example, as said in this Wikipedia article, he thought if you listen to rock music and it's like rock and roll, let's like fucking do drugs and skateboard. He thought that people listening would be like, I want to do drugs and skateboard now. I have Munchausen syndrome by proxy now. And that's just to give like a perspective of how fucked up his view of psychology was. But let's talk about psychic driving and depatterning. I just want to say, like, you would think, like, oh, it's been 60 plus years, 70 years. I just have the gift of hindsight to be like, oh, that's a bad idea. No, let me just describe what he thought would cure schizophrenia just for a second. Psychic driving can essentially be laid out like this. You take a patient, this patient's suffering with delusions, hallucinations, general mental unrest. You take this patient, and what do? You lay them out, and you try to get rid of as much of their senses as you can. You close the lights, you calm them down a little bit, and then you get a tape recording of someone saying negative statements over and over and over and over. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of times over the course of weeks. And then after a little bit, you flip it around. You use a tape recorder, but they're saying positive statements over and over and over again. Psychic driving was the prerequisite to what came to be depatterning, and this was electric convulsive therapy. Electric convulsive therapy, not bad, right? And essentially taking thumbprints of hallucinogens. I don't know if you know what thumbprints are. Lysergic acid diethylamide is measured in micrograms, not milligrams, not grams. Thumbprints are multiple milligrams, so I'm talking like 20,000 micrograms. If you could, I don't know how much you know about that, but just try to picture that. And obviously doing the same thing, playing a tape recorder and looping crazy fucking statements over and over until they're healed. Many of these people faced things like retrograde amnesia months after. Many were described as leaving in juvenile states, shitting, pissing, and cumming their pants when they get out of the hospital. And I'm just going to give an example of one patient, Gene Steele. described by her daughter as never coming back and never being the same again. She was found sitting in the dark in her room at night, and fucking crayon on the wall, toddler shit, code, like random bits of code on her wall. Her daughter described her personality being stripped away, and obviously retrograde amnesia, probably, likely, shitting, pissing, coming her pants. That sounds like heaven to me. I don't know. There was some 300 patients that suffered like this and probably had a similar experience to Gene Steele. So this is C tier. You can see how this is horrific. This is a real thing that happened. And some 60,000, upwards of $200,000 were funded for this, for the 300 people that went through with this. Yeah. Donald Cameron, you are fucking insane. There's not much else to be said. I think it's a good way to end the video. This was a long one. If you stuck it out, I appreciate it. If you didn't, I understand. If you skipped, I'm gonna be putting ad reads all across the whole video. Yeah, thank you for watching. I know this was a gnarly end. I hope you like this. This is my first time talking to a camera for a oddly long time. It's very unnatural. But thank you for watching. More to come, hopefully. If you enjoy it, like. If you don't, like. Fuck.